Have you ever met someone who seems to make fat loss just look unfairly easy? On the surface, it seems like everything just comes second nature to these people, but most of these guys aren't just lucky. Over time, they've learnt that getting lean isn't about the perfect training and nutrition, but the way they framed the process in the brain and the mindset that naturally comes with that. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can rewire your own brain to make getting lean come almost second nature. This took me years to figure out, and it's something that most fitness advice online completely ignores. All of these points are extremely important and they all link together, so make sure to stick around for all of them. And so without wasting any time, let's get into the first idea, which is the principle of loss aversion. The human brain is wired to be motivated and driven by the idea of losing something, much more than the idea of gaining something. And so often, the guys that seem to have everything so figured out, whether consciously or subconsciously, will be driven by the idea of loss. Whether that be returning to their former self, who is less confident and anxious, or something as simple as telling someone else, or looking like a failure on social media if their fat loss doesn't go as planned. And this is why having external accountability is so valuable. The idea in your head that if you don't make progress, the other person will think less of you, or if you pay for a coach and don't adhere, you're a few £100s worse off, but with the same physique. By bringing in some pressure to perform, you're more likely to stick to the plan and have emotional buy-in. So whether that be a financial buy-in from hiring a coach, public accountability, or a deep enough worry that if you don't work hard, your life will suffer as a consequence, is a very strong driver of motivation and discipline. You'll also notice that these guys come with a strong identity. They aren't someone who's merely trying to lose weight, but someone that trains or bodybuilds or lives a healthy lifestyle. You need to become the person that trains before work, that doesn't miss sessions, that eats healthy. If your identity relates to just trying, you'll ultimately go back to old habits when things are tough. Every action is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. Every day you do something towards your goals is another day you bring your baseline standards up. And the cool thing is, because that becomes the new norm, your worst days become so much better, and your good days become even better than that. Waking up late is no longer 11 AM, but 7 AM. Overeating is no longer a 2,000 calorie surplus, but a 150 calorie surplus. The process gets easier and easier the more you do it, because it becomes your new normal. You don't rise to your goals ultimately, you fall to your identity. The next point is something I'd never thought about until recently, but it can be incredibly powerful if done properly, and it relates to dopamine and immediate reward. The brain struggles with delayed gratification. You have to work hard for the time being with no promise of an actual outcome in the end, and so it doesn't care that much about potentially being lean in 12 weeks, and cares so much more about how good that box of chocolates in the corner could potentially taste. So something, again consciously or subconsciously, guys who seemingly have it easy do, is they make the process psychologically rewarding in the present. They probably go to a gym they like or train with a friend. They track lifts every week so they have continuous positive reinforcement when they see they're getting stronger. They take progress pictures, they listen to music they enjoy in the gym, and perhaps they use caffeine or pre-workouts before their session. And obviously it's unlikely they've chosen to do this with the idea that it's instant dopamine, but that's essentially what drives those decisions. Ultimately, it's why people take pre-workouts, endure the extra 10-minute drive to a gym environment they really like, and track their progress, because it all seems a lot more enjoyable. And that's what you should strive to do in your process, whether that be buying some gym clothes you feel more confident in, going for a walk in nature instead of up and down your street, training with a mate. All of these things make the process far easier. And there's often a fine line between doing what's optimal and what's enjoyable. Usually veering to the side of enjoyment is the better option for most. The last point is probably the most important, and it's friction theory. The body defaults to the path of least resistance, so if you're constantly offered snacks in the office or you have a ready meal waiting in the fridge, when things get tough, that's what you'll default to. So you need to make positive habits easy to access compared to the negative habits. So that involves removing any temptations from your environment, having your gym bag ready to go, meal prep ready to eat, a gym close by so when it's raining you don't have to trek miles to get a training session in. You also want to consider your social environment. We're social beings, and that means we mirror our environment. So if our friendship groups and peers normalise poor behaviour, we're also far more likely to choose bad decisions. So if you're constantly around people that drink heavily, skip workouts and moan about being exhausted, ultimately we exhibit the same traits. So where possible, make changes to your social environment, and where not possible, simply be aware that it's a risk and act accordingly. The best physiques are rarely built purely by perfect motivation or perfect discipline, but built by people who understand how to make good behaviours psychologically easier and bad behaviours psychologically harder. So if you are struggling to stay in shape, consider your environment, consider what you tie your identity to, and start building the right habits now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.